All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. This is the Steering and Rules Committee. Today is Thursday, November 14th. It's approximately 1:40 in the afternoon. We have with us this afternoon Alderman Bob Bauman, who's the chairman of the Public Works Committee. We have Alderman Nick Kovac, who's the chairman of the Licenses Committee. The vice chairwoman of the committee, Alderwoman Cox, should be joining us shortly. I'm Alderman Hamilton, the chairman of this committee. We have our staff assistant, Linda Elmer. We have the chairman of the Judiciary and Legislation Committee, Alderman Mark Borkowski.
Esquire.
And we have the alderman of the Zoning, Neighborhood, and Development Committee, Alderman Khalif Rainey. And the chairman of the Community and Economic Development Committee, Alderman Russell Stamper II.
Yes, sir.
And we have sitting in for us as the vice chairman of the Public Safety and Health Committee, Alderman Jose Perez.
Very nice.
It's my starting lineup.
Yeah.
It's the Kodak All-American team.
Little squad, man.
All right, we're going to jump right into our agenda today with item number 1, file number 191221, communication from the Democratic National Committee's 2020 Convention Host Committee relating to ongoing convention preparation activities. With this item, a number of you have been asking questions about updates on the DNC activity. And Jody is here to kind of share with you the overview of what it is that we'll cover today, and how we can go forward to make sure that we are getting timely information to the council so that they are aware of all of the activities that's going on in the city. So, Jody, if you could just identify yourself for the record.
Jody Tabak, Office of Mayor Tom Barrett. Good afternoon, President, members of the committee. I just wanted to, before we bring up the host committee, say that we are hopeful that after this meeting, it's determined that it's been a very good use of everyone's time, and that we can go forward with bringing the host committee back for updates from now until July. Also, as you all know, they play a very significant role as it relates to our city and the lasting impact. They work closely with the DNCC to ensure that a successful convention is produced. So that is, as I explained during our budget hearing, a separate entity that we would like to bring back so that you have the opportunity to ask questions as it relates specifically to the areas that the DNCC oversees. In addition, I think it would be beneficial for all of you to hear directly from the Secret Service at the appropriate time. And I think that that would be probably close to December, January timeline. So we will continue to work on creating these opportunities to make sure that you are informed along the way. And certainly at any point, feel free to reach out to me directly, and certainly members of the host committee or the DNCC. So if this proves to be helpful, we'll be back.
All right.
Thank you.
And we can have some kind of specialized conversations with, because there are different people that are responsible for different things. I know we had some questions about just infrastructure preparation that was separate from the police and Secret Service questions, and then questions specifically about workforce development and opportunities and those types of things. We can have specialized conversations and presentations between now and then with committee members as we're going forward. Would that work better than just trying to have everybody
Yeah,
show up?
absolutely. And I think that I can work with your office to determine sort of what the best flow would be, but there are a lot of city departments and city staff who have been hard at work to ensure that we pull this off in a wildly successful manner. And so it would be beneficial to hear from departments like the Department of Employee Relations, the City Attorney's Office, certainly DPW and MP. And our work to ensure that those with disabilities have a very positive experience while they're here. So we would be more than happy to either extend an invitation to any of you to come to one of our city operations meeting, or if it's a better use of everyone's time to sort of have us come to this meeting, certainly open to that as well. That would be a nice opportunity to sort of give a status update and where we are with our progress.
All right. And how often are the city operations meetings?
Every other week.
Every other week? Okay. All right.
I've got a question.
Alderman? Absolutely. Alderman Bauman.
Who is in charge on behalf of the city of Milwaukee? Who is the point person? The go-to person to direct traffic, to interface the departments, to make sure things are getting done. Who is in charge?
Through the agreement with the DNC, when we accepted the bid, I was named that individual, and I will say that it has been I've been working closely, obviously, with department heads and the city attorney's office in that role.
Okay.
Sure.
Alderman Burkowski.
I know that we've got a group here that made the effort to come down. I'd sure like to meet the team. I'm sure all of us would like to meet the team. Are we going to bring them up?
The purpose of my coming up here was to offer that some of the things that they're not able to answer, that you are, rest assured that we are open to making sure that you have the answers to your questions. I had no intention of taking up too much of your time.
No,
Well, I'm just letting you know that this was trying to
we'd all
make.
like to meet them.
Yeah, that's why they're here, and that's why we've made the arrangements.
Mr. President,
All right. We want to bring him up. Alderman Stamper.
Jody, come back, please.
Maybe we can talk offline. Out of respect for their time and out of Alderman Burkowski's interest, I mean, I'd be happy to.
Ms. Tabor, why are you taking it like that? He didn't mean that. What's wrong with you?
I thought we were offering a nice gesture, but if it's taking up the time, why don't we proceed with our guest? Speaking,
What is going on? What happened?
I don't think he.
Okay.
All I
I know,
saw.
I don't want to take up their time though, so why don't we proceed?
No, I have a question. No, I have a question for
I
you.
will sit down then, but I will stay after, and you can ask me then.
Burkowski,
Nothing, so we know nothing about this.
what did you do to Ms. Tabor?
Right, so,
Did you do anything to her?
Burkowski.
Oh my God!
Over
we
there.
can replay the tape. Go
Stop
on, I'm happy to
steaming.
answer your question.
No, what I wanted to know, 'cause just refresh my memory, is how was the host committee developed? And I had originally asked, would President Hamilton sit on that host committee? Did that occur, or did that conversation ever happen, or is this the type of communication we're going to continue to have?
I'm very pleased to report that President Hamilton was selected to be part of the leadership team.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, so you,
So that happened after the inquiry. So
okay. So,
It was part of the plan all along.
it was okay.
okay, fine.
yeah.
Well, that was the main question, and then how was the committee developed? Like, how did you pick Lafayette? How did you pick the other people?
You know what, that's a really good question. That's a good segue to have the president of the host committee address that.
Well, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
All right.
All right, let's bring up the representatives of the host committee. Let's get this team up here. I think so many members saw all of these new faces and then they got a little excited and wanted to skip over the pleasantries of the introductions. So, Liz, you want to kick us off?
I would love to. President Hamilton, members of the committee, thank you so much for having us today. My name is Liz Gilbert, and I serve as the president of the host committee for the 2020 Democratic National Convention that will be taking place right here in Milwaukee next summer. We are honored to have this audience today, so truly thank you not only for having us, but for agreeing to serve on our leadership team for the convention. Over the past couple months, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and those in your office. We look forward to working with you even more closely than we have been thus far, and figuring out how to engage not only the members of this committee, but the entire community through your help. Jumping right into it, a little bit about me, and then look forward to having the team members introducing themselves as well. I am returning to Wisconsin. I am a proud UW-Madison Badger, and so this is my second time now living in this state. I returned here to start this job full-time over the summer, which means that we're just a few months in here as well. Many of the team members sitting with me here at this table today and those back at headquarters, which is just across the street, all began in the month of August, and we continue to build out our team. We are not done growing, so I look forward to talking with you more about the opportunity to engage additional folks in our efforts. I want to first start also by explaining what it is that the host committee does and really what we are. We are, as Jody alluded to, a sister organization of the DNCC. We have different goals and we have different mandates. The DNCC is the political arm of this convention. They are the organizing arm of the National Democratic Committee, and so they are building up the infrastructure so that when the nominee comes to town, whomever he or she is and whatever they in their campaigns might be looking to do, that infrastructure is prepared for their arrival. On the other side of that coin, we at the host committee are in charge of the civic engagement efforts of this convention. That means the volunteer program, that means the contracting, that means making sure we get this economic impact right, that means caring about the citizens of Milwaukee and of Wisconsin first and foremost, and that is our mandate. We have said that the mission of our host committee is to highlight and accelerate the current renaissance that is happening here in Milwaukee. I'm speaking for myself, coming in as an outsider, went on a listening tour for these first few months that we were here, and we asked stakeholders of all shapes and sizes to help us understand what the priorities of this convention should be. And so we did not think it was in our best interest to come to town and say, here's what we think we should be doing. We looked at many of you and your constituents and said, what is it that you want to see? What does success look like to you? And so we work every single day to achieve those goals. So we are trying to figure out what programming is already happening here in Milwaukee, what good work is already being done under your leadership, quite frankly, and how do we showcase that good work, and how do we speed it up by using the platform of this convention to make Milwaukee even greater than it already is. So that's a little bit about what we are doing. We're also doing some programming that is very different from other committees. It was important to us to make sure that folks knew this was not just a convention that was to take place inside of an arena for 4 days. We wanted this not only to be, or we wanted it to be not just a downtown convention. We wanted it to touch as many neighborhoods and as many people as possible, and we need your help to make sure that we are getting that right. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts and advice as well. But we also didn't just want this to be a 4-day thing. We wanted it to be a year-long lead-up where we are engaging many partners, and we want to make sure that once the balloons have fallen on July 16th, 2020, that was really just the beginning of this process, and quite frankly, not the end, that we are using this convention to really look forward to the future of Milwaukee and not just make this a 4-day event. So we'll be happy to talk to you about our programming as well. To give you a little bit of a rundown of what the week of looks like, I'm not sure how many of you might have attended a national convention before, but it's a very unique event that is hard to explain if you have not attended, or quite frankly is also hard to explain even if you have attended. So we are expecting, you might have heard this number, 50,000 guests next summer. That is 50,000 guests next summer. And we think folks, or we know folks, will start arriving the weekend prior. Our first event will take place on Saturday, July 11th. That is our media welcome event. It will be followed by the delegate welcome event, which will take place on Sunday, July the 12th. The reason why I bring up those two events is not just so you know when folks will start arriving, but to explain also that the host committee has the incredible task and privilege of shaping the perception of what it means to welcome people here. So it is on the shoulders of the host committee to determine what these initial events are going to look like. Where will they take place? Who gets to attend? What will the theme be? Who are we contracting to put on these events? These are all things that we work on every single day, and again, we look forward to your partnership to making sure that we are getting that right. So the media welcome party and delegate welcome parties are both host committee events that will take place before we gavel in on Monday, July 13th. The convention is a nighttime activity. I think that's really important to share because folks will be looking for stuff to do downtown during the day. So the technical convention is July 13th through the 16th. So that is Monday through Thursday night. And again, it's a nighttime activity, and so we really are excited about developing programming for what people should be doing during the day. There will be official caucus meetings, and the official work of the DNC will be going on during the day as well, official party business. But the convention proceedings that will take place inside of the Fiserv Forum will be that Monday through Thursday night. On Friday, July 17th of 2020, we will have our volunteer appreciation party, and that will complete our entire week-long of events. So that is quite a bit that we are working on. I bring up the volunteer piece last, not just because it will be the final event that we do, but we're doing that very intentionally to use the volunteer thank you party as a way to send our volunteer corps back out into their communities. And so it is the job of the host committee to recruit, retain, and organize 15,000 individuals to help make this convention happen. I think all of you know probably very personally and very well that takes a lot of effort, and you need a lot of friends to help make that happen. So again, you're probably sensing a theme here. Look forward to partnering with you all to make sure that we're engaging people who want to touch this convention and understand how to be part of it. Not part of what I was going to bring up today, but I think very much worth mentioning. As I mentioned, I think when I met with a couple of you maybe a few months back here, we have launched our internship program. We are the first host committee to offer a paid internship program. We will endeavor to make this as much of a Milwaukee focus as possible. These are not, folks coming in from out of state to intern with us now. We know that the volunteer corps will be a mix because people from all over the country and frankly the world will want to touch the convention. But when we look at our internship program, how do we help build and support the incredible pipeline of talent throughout this entire city and give them the opportunity to work with us over these next 241 days. So would love to talk to you more about the internship programs. We had our first interns are starting now, and so we'll continue to build on that class. Want to make sure we're getting the internship application out to all of your constituents and groups that you represent and work with to make sure folks know of these opportunities. And there will be a lot more that we can talk about there as well. With that, I will let the other incredible members of my team who are with me today talk more about their departments and what they are working on. And when we complete this round, look forward to taking your questions. So Kelly, if you are okay to go first, I will turn this over to Kelly Gleason.
Great. President Hamilton, members of the committee, lovely to be here this afternoon. My name is Kelly Gleason. I am the Vice President of Events and Production for the host committee. I am a true blue Wisconsinite. I grew up in Stevens Point. I went to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I lived in Madison for a number of years working at the Capitol. I left for a little bit and recently just moved back with my family and excited to have my Wisconsin driver's license again. We really think of my team as the hospitality aspect of the convention. As people are coming into town saying, hey, we want to have a party, we want to have a forum, where should we go? Myself and the three other folks on our team talk with them and chat with them and figure out what's going to be the best couple of venues we'd like them to see. When they come to town, we take them around, we show them where to get the best cheese curds, the best fish fries, and really want people to see all areas of Milwaukee. One thing that my department really works on, we want to make sure that this is not just a convention in Milwaukee, but that it's with Milwaukee. There will be about 2,000 events between now and the convention. About 1,500 of those are during the 4 days of the convention. So if I have not had the opportunity to be here before and I Google event venues, there's a handful of places that will come up, and they are all wonderful, and we're so happy to be working with them, but 1,500 events can't fit in those spaces, and nor are those the best venues for every event. So we're really working hard. We're almost ready to launch our online venue portal. We've been gathering information from venues across the city and outside the city as well for the past couple weeks, and this is going to be a searchable database online, so I can look geographically by the ownership of a restaurant, if I want a restaurant as opposed to an event venue. And we actually currently have about 400 venues that are on there. And as a point of reference, in Philly, they had a PDF document that they sent around to folks. They did not have the searchable database online. They only had 90 venues on there. So daily, we're getting 5 to 10 more every day. And so we're continuing to reach out to neighborhoods and make sure that we've got folks on there. Over the past several months, we've hosted well over 100 site visits from associations and groups from all over the country. Frankly, a lot of those folks have never been here before, and people are leaving very surprised and very happy and really looking forward to the convention next year. And we actually are planning several community events between now and the end of the year, and then obviously next year we'll continue those as well. But I have personally had a chance to meet with some staff of the city and of your staff to talk about events that the council is doing and how we can work together and know, very importantly, not to have events on the same night so that we can get information out to everybody. So again, super happy to be here, and we're really looking forward to working with all areas of the city.
All right, thank you.
All right. President Hamilton, members of the committee, I want to reiterate Liz and Kelly and thanking you for having us today. We are so honored to be here and to give you an update on our efforts. So I am here. My name is Hannah Mills, and I'm representing the communications department. So much of my work is focused on messaging our initiatives and then explaining those initiatives to the media and to the public through our own digital channels. So things are in full swing at the host committee, as you may have seen in the media. We have rolled out our co-chairs when we were lucky enough to do that at St. Anne Center on the north side. So our co-chairs are Mayor Barrett and Congresswoman Moore. We made an announcement there, and then later that week we were lucky enough to roll out our official leadership structure. And President Hamilton, we are honored to have you as part of that, representing the entire council. So thank you for being a part of that. We also, earlier last week, rolled out our summits. So we are organizing 3 summits in tandem with Northwestern Mutual, and those will be focused on ensuring economic equity. The second one will be focused on the future of growth and culture in communities. And then the third is focused on civic engagement and volunteerism. So I will let my colleague Nisha speak to the last one a bit, but we are very excited to make announcements about those and to continue partnering with you all. My job will be focused on highlighting all of the different people, places, unique things in many of your districts. So would love to hear your ideas about what is important to you. What do you really want to highlight over these next 8 months and beyond?
Thank you.
Thank you, President Hamilton and members of the committee. I am honored to give you all an update on the work that we are doing. My name is Nisha Blandon, and I'm Vice President of Engagement and Opportunity, and I oversee our community engagement and volunteer recruitment efforts. I'm sure you've heard the huge number of 15,000 volunteers that we are working to recruit and retain and then deploy, not just those 4 days in July next summer, but in the weeks and months leading up to that effort. On the community engagement side, we are really looking to partner with all of you, partner and identify the awesome organizations, community leaders, stakeholders that are doing the awesome work in and throughout the city of Milwaukee. We rolled out earlier in the fall, early September, a partnership that we have entered into with the Milwaukee Public School System, where we are partnering with them on monthly community engagement activities. In the month of September, we were at Andrew Douglas Middle School. Last month in October, we were at the Milwaukee School of Languages, where we are sitting down with the students and talking to them about what it means to have the convention here in Milwaukee, but also doing some mentorship. Next week, we'll be doing another partnership with the Milwaukee Public School System, where we'll be reading to some elementary school students. So this will be an ongoing, long-term, impactful partnership. And we are looking to identify other organizations like that we can partner with. One, to highlight the awesome work that is already happening here in Milwaukee. We know that there's a spotlight on the city, and we really want to show the country and the world what great work that's taking place. We are also partnering. I meet every other week with Jody and the members in the mayor's office to make sure that we have a close relationship and that we are partnering and making sure that we are directed to the right individuals in the community and organizations so that we can do the good work that we have to do in the coming months to recruit those volunteers. As part of the volunteer recruitment effort, we are going in the coming weeks, hopefully by the end of the year, be launching our volunteer portal, and that will be the entry point for the 15,000 individuals across the city and across the state to get involved and plug in with the work that we are doing. And not just through our MPS partnerships, we are also partnering monthly with other organizations across the city. In the month of September, we partnered with Hunger Task Force and went out to their farm and spent about 3 or 4 hours on the farm harvesting summer squash. Last month, we partnered with the St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care and spent a few hours with some of those individuals there just playing games and having a good time with them. So we are always looking for organizations that we can go into and partner with them, whether to do some service activity, and also as we continue to grow our volunteer corps, we have a couple thousand individuals who have already raised their hand and said that they're excited about what's to come. We want to be able to use these opportunities to engage those individuals and get them plugged in to the organizations that are doing good work. So if you know of an organization or you all are doing some great things across the city that we can partner with, we really want to seek out some of those opportunities. We want to be really good partners, and we want to be intentional in that work. We also, so when it comes to volunteers, something I like to boast about is that the Milwaukee Metro region is ranked 4th in the nation for volunteering, with about a little over 44% of its residents volunteering. My goal is that Milwaukee will be number 1. Right now it's Minneapolis, and that's only because they have had the Super Bowl. So I think, with all of the elbow grease that we are putting in, the ground is fertile. Folks are excited and already engaged, and that's because of the work that you all have been doing over the past couple of years. So there's already a solid infrastructure that is here, which makes our partnerships so much easier because we can plug into that. And we want to make sure that we highlight all of the work that has been happening in the Milwaukee metro area that has put it at number 4 in the nation, and really want to work with you all to accelerate that to number 1 at the end of 2020.
All right. Thank you, Nisha.
All right. Well, thank you, President Hamilton and council members. My name is Maricruz Sanchez. I am the Director of Vendor Growth in our Department of Inclusion. So some updates from our department are that we have nearly 100 businesses signed up on our portal, and we've also held multiple information sessions. So that was in Flores Hall with Alderman Perez, and we're going to have one next week with Chairman Rainey and Stamper. So what we're trying to do is forge alliances with different stakeholders. We're also, Lafayette, the Vice President of Diversity, Vendor Accountability, and Growth, is in close communication with Nikki Purvis as well with the Office of Small Business Development. And what we want to do is ensure the inclusion of SBEs and other minority-owned businesses. The way that we're going about also measuring how they're good to the community, to their employees, and the environment is through pre-qualification forms. And through that, we are able to gauge how these businesses are doing great in these areas, and that's an opportunity for them to share with us there. And a little bit of how we go about with our analysis with the diversity is dependent on their workforce, their pay policy to their employees, their sick leave policy, and more as well. And when we're talking about diversity, we're talking about women-owned, minority status, LGBTQ, from disability or differently abled communities, veteran status as well. And even though these businesses might not have certifications, although that is useful for us moving forward, we also don't want that to be an impediment for us doing businesses, so we'll do our own due diligence as well to make sure that we're including those local and diverse businesses. And so we're trying to keep in mind also historical discrimination and in our way of analysis.
All right. Questions? So, Maria, just to start us off, because this was a part of a lot of the discussion, both from council members and from the community, as we were having these pre-meetings early on, about whether or not there were specific goals in our diversity areas. Are there identified goals to reach, or are we just creating the platform for having diverse work group, small businesses, and participation?
I think the procedures that we want to take in place with each contract is making sure that we're analyzing who is receiving these RFPs or these requests for proposals, and making sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to respond and support them along the way, as well as measuring internally how we're doing that, being in those meetings with those requests for proposals and in those information sessions, seeing how we can align to have that maximum participation.
May I add, if
Sure.
that's okay? I don't know if you meant goals in terms of what are we endeavoring to do,
Like percentages, yeah.
which I think Maricruz was explaining. In terms of percentages, we do not have a specific percentage. Our goal is to be the most diverse and inclusive convention that has ever existed. And so I believe the number in Philadelphia, I have seen lots of different numbers, but it was more than 35%. So for us, we will endeavor to get above that, though we have not set a numerical goal, if I understood the question correctly.
Mr. Chair?
Alderwoman Lewis.
Thank you. So, welcome. I did have a question. So you're talking about the inclusive businesses as well as the diversity of it. Have you, has there ever been, or have you considered a kid-friendly entrepreneurship business? So one thing that is about to be launched under the leadership of Alderwoman Coggs, which is something that I'm like, we're all kind of chomping at the bit to be first, is creating a child or a kid entrepreneur business license, so that they can do, you know, because we've got a ton of children entrepreneurs. So is there an opportunity for the kids to be included as well?
I think the way that we want to continue forward is keeping it as an open door policy. So I think that's a great suggestion and something that we can continue to discuss and see if we can implement, because I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Well, good. I'm sure she'd love to work with you. I don't mind tagging along on that one as well. Two of my kids are mini entrepreneurs. Additionally, I know you said that there was an event with Alderman Perez and Stamper and Rainey. Is the anticipation to do each district, to walk with the alders in each district and just to kind of get the environment and the landscape?
I think we are still in process of how we're going to do that strategically moving forward, but how we're doing this partnership with both the Chairman Stemper and Chairman Rainey is even collaborations. Even if we can't do it individually, maybe how can we do collaborations so we can maximize with all the communities and neighborhoods.
Well, that's exciting. I look forward to you all coming over to the New Ninth. It's pretty far away from the downtown area, so that is definitely a concern for me, to make sure that when we're talking about being inclusive, it's inclusive of the furthest neighborhood. So we have a unique challenge. We're like 25, 30 minutes away, so trying to figure out how we can come over that hurdle and make sure that we're included as well.
If I can jump in, Alderwoman, on the community engagement side, we do plan to engage every district across the city, and we would like to partner with you all to have community meetings in the neighborhoods and make it very accessible to the folks in the community and the residents. We don't want individuals to have to travel too far just to get information. So we will be reaching out to you all directly and welcome your partnership led by President Hamilton to start building out those meetings.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey?
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to all of you to here to City Hall. Here in Milwaukee, we're known for, as you said, our cheese curds and our fish fries, and fourth in the country in volunteerism. That's new to me. But we're also #1 in America for the worst place to live for African Americans. I'd like to know, and I know it's early in the process, but how do you intend on using this platform to shine a light on this issue for the rest of the country so these candidates could speak to the disparities impact African Americans in America?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It is one that we think about and talk about every single day. We wanted to show that we are living values that we care about very deeply, and so we are I would say first and foremost, acknowledging the community and acknowledging the history of this place and acknowledging that this convention is not a end-all be-all fix-all event. So first step was, where are we and what does this convention mean to this incredible place? The part about living our values, we are the very first host committee to have an entire department focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And while that, again, will not be the end-all fix, we wanted to show that we are going to have folks on our team who think about this and work toward engagement on this topic every single day. We have a chief diversity advisor. We have Nisha, of course, Lafayette, I know you mentioned earlier. A good example is Mari Cruz's position has never existed on a convention before. And so we are hiring people from different constituency groups, and again, continuing to grow every day to focus on lots of different issues, topics, and have tough discussions. Because as I mentioned when I was opening, this convention is not about these 4 days. It's about long after the event has concluded, what in fact do we do for the community? When folks have asked me, you know, as a leader of the organization, what is the thing that keeps you up at night, or what has your attention day in and day out? It really is what is going to be that lasting legacy that we leave here. And so we have to work every day to be figuring out what we can do for the future of this city. And so we started by our hiring practices, our treatment of our employees, creating a plan to have community meetings that don't just talk about vendor accountability and volunteering, but what is it that you want this convention to highlight? That word highlight was really important in our mission statement, because there's also really good work being done here on the ground to talk about the history and the issues here. And so we want to highlight those groups and showcase them to the country and, frankly, to the world. There will be 15,000 members of the national and international media here next summer. So we doubly take the storytelling. Really, we know how important that is. And so getting the candidate or candidates who are in town to understand what Milwaukeeans care about is of critical importance to our mission. So we're working on it every day, and we love thoughts and suggestions and advice. So as you have them, please be our partner in that. Thank you.
Also, I noticed that you mentioned diversity a lot. I don't see any men as a part of your team. And typically it's the reverse. But do you have any men who is a part of your leadership team?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Yes, it is typically the reverse, what you just said. So we take that also very seriously. We were speaking at an event. It was, I think, this panel exactly, speaking at another event, and they said this was the first time that we had an all-woman panel here. Our team is both majority women as well as majority minority, but we do have men on our leadership team as well as throughout our entire staff. We're at about 30 folks in total, and I believe we are 60% female, or just over that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I was hoping she was getting ready. I was hoping she was not going to say she didn't see gender. I didn't even see gender. Thank you for recognizing that. Alderman Baum. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Alderwoman Cox.
Thank you. You mentioned about the list of 400 venues and how it's growing each day. How do venues get on the list?
Sure. So we have a link on our website right now called Venue Sign Up, and that's where you can go and give square footage. Do you have inside space? Do you have outside space? Are you accessible? Geographically where you're located. It gives venues an opportunity to give a description, and for that we're looking for not just I'm on the north side and we serve XYZ. That's really an opportunity to sell the location by it's like 50 words. And then also you can put on there, we want to do breakfast, we only want to do panels, we'll do late nights. So the information gets submitted on there along with a couple pictures, and then that comes to the back end of our website, and hopefully later today we'll have the beta version and we'll do some internal testing and then hopefully it will be launched. And even though once it's launched, we will still be, as people enter, it'll just take the time for our IT folks to do what it is that they do, and then it'll be online. So on the Milwaukee2020.com.
That's what I was about to ask you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to that point?
To that point?
Yes, to that point. Thank you. So if a venue is under construction, can they apply to be a venue and show you what they will look like before the convention?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Cox?
Engagement. Yes. You mentioned some of the events that you volunteers have already participated in, but that you would like to. I see we have Alicia McHenry in the audience. She works with the council. I don't know if y'all have met, but on our events. But I just want to put a plug in. I got 3 right now that you can put on the calendar. Alderman Stamper and I have an upcoming housing resource fair on November 23rd. On January 25th, I'm hosting the MKE Business Now Entrepreneurship Summit. And on March 12th, it will be the 10th anniversary of Girls' Day at City Hall. Myself, Alderwoman Dodd, and Alderwoman Lewis will be hosting that. But we would love, each of those events garner several hundred people. So the extra hands, the extra help that we could get is highly appreciated.
Absolutely, and we would welcome to partner with you on all of those events. Through my meetings with Jody and the team in the mayor's office, they flagged your Girls' Day event for me, and I know that's something that we have on our list that we definitely want to incorporate into our monthly volunteer activities. So I will definitely follow up with you and any other individuals on your team to make sure that we can kind of fold into some of those efforts. And if there are any other events, large or small. Not only do we want to be good partners, and not only are we taking community engagement and civic participation seriously, we also really want to use this as an opportunity to engage our volunteer corps. We want to have a professionalized and highly skilled set of volunteers. And we want to do that not just through hosting our own events where they come out and participate, but through partnering with you all to support the work that you are doing. There will be events happening large and small where we can use it as an opportunity to tap our list, where we have thousands of individuals who are eager, and I'm sure many of you hear from them every day. They are eager to be engaged and to be activated, and we would love to partner with you to activate them. And I do want to talk a little bit, if I can take some time. Part of that volunteer program is our Building the Future program, where we want 15,000 volunteers, and we know not everyone could afford to take time off of work and give the time commitment, full-time, full days to volunteer. But we want to make sure that participation is not hampered by your socioeconomic status or any other kind of barriers. So through our Building Our Future program, we will be identifying a subset of our larger volunteer corps that we will help to offset some of those expenses, whether it be transportation, housing, missed wages. And through that program, we will have monthly trainings, really in-depth trainings about what it means to be a community leader, what it means to be a volunteer. Our hope is that this subset, this very highly skilled subset of our larger 15,000 person volunteer corps will be those community leaders that will emerge after the convention. And those will be folks who will be on the ground in the community to lead the work that you all have started. So we would love to partner with you as we roll out that program, because we understand that as much as everyone may want to get involved and participate, not everyone is able to, and we want to make this convention, to Liz's point, the most inclusive, oh my goodness, the most inclusive convention in history.
All right. So you say the goal is 15,000. Where are you on that goal today?
Yeah, so very fortunately for us, that number is literally changing hourly. So just as I'm looking at the countdown clock for days going down, the volunteer number is going up. We are on track to hit our goals, and as soon as our volunteer management program is launched, hopefully in the next few weeks, we will also announce where we are in progress to goal. That said, we are very excited. Yes, thank you.
If someone is interested in volunteering, what do they do?
They should go to our website, milwaukee2020.com/volunteer, and that's where they can indicate their interest. They should follow us across all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, because as we roll out updates, we will be releasing it through our social media platforms, but also via email to everyone who signs up on that list.
All right, Alderman Bauman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chair. I actually have a lot of questions about logistics and about money. And this is the first time I ever met any of you. I find that a little unusual since most of this is happening in my district, but that's whatever, better late than never. You're charged with raising some $70 million, is that correct?
Yes.
And what part of your organization are the fundraisers? I'm just curious.
The folks who are not here at this table because they are in the office raising money.
Okay. That's a significant amount of money. And could you give us a sense of the categories of things that $70 million gets spent on? Because I'm trying to get my arm from what you've just described, I'm trying to process in my head what costs $70 million. What categories of things are you spending $70 million on?
Not a problem. I also want to say at any time that you would like to have a meeting, not only am I, but the entire team is available. So should a follow-up meeting be necessary or something that you wish to do, we're available.
Necessary. I would think well, all right. Believe it or not, aldermen have a significant amount of influence around here. There are various processes and procedures that are under the control of the council.
Absolutely.
Special events, liquor, licensing, among others.
Of course.
Just letting you know, But that's fine, but please continue with your...
Of course, no problem. My point was, if you would like to meet at any time, we will always be available. So should there be a request or need or excitement about having a meeting, we're always here. To the point about the...
Actually, but that's fine.
No problem. To the point about the budget, about 20% of that $70 million goes solely to hospitality and our historic inclusion efforts. It costs money to attract and retain top diverse talent. We have a very large team. We have already surpassed the number of folks on the Philadelphia Host Committee, and we will likely surpass the number on the Charlotte Host Committee as
You're
well.
talking about employees of the host committee?
Yes.
Okay.
To recruit top talent and to have as many diverse voices at the table, that was a really important budget item for us and one that we're frankly very proud of. But to that 20%, it is also our partnership with MPS and other service projects that we will be doing. We will not be asking folks here to put any dollars forward to have us included or for us to provide any assistance or help. So in any of the projects that we're doing around the community, any swag that we are ordering to give out to our students that we are working with. These are all part of the leave behind efforts that we are, incurring every day. Also, the perception study and the perception events that we will be doing as we welcome the media and delegates here. We are in charge of developing those themes and putting on those events, and so that would all be under the hospitality bucket. So to that other 80%, obviously a significant portion, the vast majority is security, logistics, transportation, construction, making the arena look as we need it to look that week, et cetera. So that is the portion of the funds, which is very significant, of course. That is the money required to put on the event.
What is your role, if any, with hotel and hotel assignments for delegates as well as media and other visitors? Was there some arrangement, because I've heard anecdotal stories from downtown hotels that there was a cap placed on the room rates that they can charge in connection with the convention?
I cannot speak to that, but I can get you an answer and return that to you by later today.
Who would have, so that's what, the host committee is not involved in any shape or form with the relationship between hotel guests and the hotel operators?
The way that you phrase that question makes me want to clarify just a little bit. We are in charge of the visitor experience. So making sure that hotels feel ready to put on their very best show to make sure that guests want to return because they've had the absolute best time here, that is something that we touch. In terms of how much their rooms costs and the parameters around their check-in and check-out and who goes where, that is not a function of the host committee.
Okay, it must be somebody, because the journeyman basically made a deal with CNN at a given room rate, and they were told by somebody, I'm not even sure who exactly, that they couldn't charge that much, despite the arm's length agreement. Not that I'm trying to protect any particular hotel, I just was curious what apparatus was put in place that could legally require a privately owned hotel to actually amend the deal they've already made with a corporate customer.
Sure, so I am not privy to that situation. I do know that the Journeyman is not in contract with the convention. It is not a hotel that we will, quote, control that week. So I cannot speak to what's going on at the Journeyman. In terms of the who question, because I want to make sure we're answering any question you have, there is someone who specifically oversees hotel and lodging under the DNCC banner.
Under the DNCC.
Yes, sir.
That could have been it. And speaking of hotels, so the DNCC is certain delegate. Are hotels assigned to state delegations, or do the state delegations negotiate, first of all, explore their own hotel opportunities and then negotiate their own deals?
All delegations are assigned by the DNC, and that process has already taken place.
Right. And I wanted to touch on that briefly because I was rather shocked, actually, to see that California and Hawaii and some of the folks in the Pacific Islands were renting hotels in Rosemont, Illinois. Mm-hmm. Was that news correct that I read?
That news is correct.
And I thought, how do they expect to get from Rosemont, because Rosemont is not a very nice place to stay, I can guarantee you. Downtown Chicago is very nice, but Rosemont is not downtown Chicago. Rosemont is well, in any event, there is one way to get back and forth, and that is on a bus. And I did it, and there's about 3,000 people involved with those combined delegations. Was that count right? Is that?
That sounds maybe a little high. I would have to check. Nisha, I'm not sure if you know. That seems a little high, but again, not.
I thought delegates, guests, friends, family. Well, if it is in that neighborhood, I mean, I thought that's 100 buses going back and forth for 2 hours each way. That's 4 hours. Who would want to attend the convention and get an experience where most of the time you're on a bus?
Yeah, so the folks who attend the convention run to be a delegate, and so they are actively so excited to come here. It's also not totally common that all folks stay within the city limits where a convention takes place. So many of these delegates who have done this before totally understand.
They're in a different state.
Yep, so in terms of...
limits, I'll accept. Yes.
No problem. So in terms of your 100 bus count, I don't know where that number would have come from.
Well, a typical long-distance bus carries 40 people. So divide 40 into 3,000, if that's the number, or 40 into 2,000, whatever the number is. That's how many buses were extras, because unless you're going to have every bus depart on a regular train schedule where it's filled up to the brim, you're going to need probably more buses than would theoretically be required by just dividing 40 into the number. So I figured about 100 total round trip. That's 200 trips. That's 17,000 miles of fossil fuel burning buses. Isn't California the most environmentally friendly state in the country? I thought that was, how ironic. Even if they were downtown Chicago, they could take the train and they would not have a problem. And the trains that already run, and they could add cars, and they could have their entire delegation on one. I'm just wondering, who's engineering that part of it? And does no one think about these kinds of issues?
So the host committee is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit civic entity, but I will tell you, based on my experience as a former state party executive director and someone who has done incredible work with the DNC, the allocation of delegate housing is one of the trickiest pieces of this puzzle. That's because of the security component, because the delegates are basically traded as protectees of the United States government that week, and so their movements are all secure, and so there are a lot of logistics that go into this. What I will tell you is that California is a delegation that needs more than 500 hotel rooms, and they all want to be under one roof because they all do breakfast briefings, and more than 100 of those potential delegates need rooms that accommodate folks with disabilities. And so when you put all of those parameters together, there are only a very few amount of places where you can put the California delegation. So to Jody's point at the beginning, I'm very happy not only to have a meeting and talk through how the delegate housing was assigned, but I can also send our folks from the sister organization, the DNCC, to talk more about this. But I just wanted to give that one very specific example because there are 49 others plus 7 territories. There are a lot of conversations that go into determining the delegate housing, and we are so excited that all hotels in Milwaukee that week and the surrounding area are going to be full, and they are going to be full with people who are not spending their days on buses. They're going to be full with people who spend their days here, spending money, learning about the city, looking for activities where they can be with their families, getting to explore this place. So we are very excited about all of the folks who will be here and the status of how the hotels were filled.
Can you provide us a list of exactly where all the delegates are being housed by city and by location? I'd be curious to see how many are not even, forget outside the city limits, outside the state.
Not a problem.
So that was a problem for me, I'll be honest with you. When I read that, I said, what the heck? And then they're all being bused, no less, on diesel, guzzling, CO2 emitting diesel buses. This is the Democratic Party's image.
Alderman, this is what we'll do. Since I know this is a particular interest for you.
Yes.
So what I want you to do is take Liz up on that offer to make sure that the people who are actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, some other technical questions.
No problem.
Yeah, special
No
events. Is the city special event process going to be basically circumvented, or shall we say, handled on a different basis than is normal? Because typically every special event that involves liquor, for one thing, a street closure, or certain levels of noise production comes through my office, and I sign off on them. And I'm just curious, is that the process that's going to prevail? Because had I been involved from the beginning, I said, how you guys want to handle this? Because that's a lot of paperwork and paper shuffling, and our existing system for processing special events will be completely overwhelmed by this surge of paperwork that'll be coming in. And has anybody thought about that as to how we're handling the special event process?
Sure. So our point of contact thus far has been Jody, and she has been incredibly helpful and an amazing resource and has helped us navigate different parts of the city that we need to. And so if you have not been contacted about something that we all know must go through your office and be on your desk,
I have not.
it's because
Totally
it
not.
is only because we are just not possibly there in the process. So I'm very excited to begin this conversation today and continue it
Okay.
with you.
Venues, you mentioned that you're collecting these venues. To what extent do you match up events and organizations with venues? I mean, are you basically funneling events to specific venues, or are the venue owner and the event customer, it's an arm's length transaction, and they can choose where they want to go and set the rates and make their own deals on their own?
Yes, we first and foremost are not giving anyone any recommendations on what their pricing should be. We're staying completely out of that. But when folks are reaching out to us, we have someone on my team joined us from Visit Milwaukee. They've lived in Milwaukee his
Right.
entire life. And so when they say, I want a party for 500 people, full bar, full buyout, we narrow it down and we give them several suggestions. Same for someone who's like, I just want a restaurant, not downtown.
Okay.
We serve as another voice for those businesses to say, here's a couple options.
Sure. So you're
Reach out to them.
You're working as just a listing. You're listing available venues with facts and figures about their capacity, their location, their size, et cetera, and then it's up to the individual event organizer to deal with them.
Yes.
Because I've gotten calls from organizations. What do you recommend? And I give
Yes.
them recommendations. I thought, am I supposed to be doing that, or has that already been preempted by somebody else? I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what I know, but I don't know much. I know the venues very well, but I don't know what the process is, the protocol, if they have to go through someone to be a properly certified So, okay, fine. So that everybody's on their own to negotiate their own deals as they see fit.
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's good for now.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Alderwoman Cox.
My district is adjacent to
Right.
Alderman Ballman, so a lot of the activity will be in my district as well. And I, too, haven't had the opportunity to sit down with you all. So beyond this meeting today, I would like to have that opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair? So, Mr. Chair?
Well, first, Alderwoman Lewis was waiting.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to interject to the Alderman's point. This was one of the reasons why I suggested Arlisa work closely with you all, and I know that you have been in contact with her. So just for the committee's edification, that was the suggestion that I made about a month or so ago. Because of the process and because Jody can't handle that stuff, it has to go through one of our offices, and so she's already working on the ground and has that. So just so you all know, I've already offered up Arlisa to work in tandem with them, and they've actually taken that offer up. So.
All right. Alderman Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I've been working with Arlicia, too. I know she's planning a meeting, not in every district, but I think myself and Alderman Coggs, maybe a few others, are going to co-host a meeting for people interested in some of the jobs or some of the other entrepreneurial opportunities. But if people can't make the meeting, or if they're watching now, or if they contact me independently, the thing I'm getting the most inquiries from probably are venue owners, property owners that, want in. And I don't personally know who to tell them, because probably there's a lot of people from out of town that want to have parties. So is there just a website they go to? Is there a contact person? How do they connect with out of town people that want great venues?
I think the best opportunity is to get onto the online portal, because a lot of folks will reach out to us. We've been talking to folks for months, but also there are a lot of people who do events all the time, and they, for their first couple visits, will just fly under the radar. So people will know that we have this searchable database. So some people will just go on there, do their own things, and then they'll just go to restaurants on their own before they even talk to us. So I think that really is the best spot to be for people to organically search. And then also when people reach out to us, we'll say, we've got this great website, you should check it out.
Okay, so and that's Milwaukee 2020?
Yep. .com.
.com. So if someone, because a lot of people, it's not all restaurants, some people that sort of own venue spaces that they figure there must be somebody who wants to host a private party.
Yes, and definitely encourage people that don't just have a restaurant, a bar, or this is a wedding venue. In Philly and Charlotte, I think, there were groups that would rent out a hair salon, and they would have their clients come, they could get their hair done, have some drinks, have some appetizers, and go. So even out-of-the-box spaces, someone will want to use and do all their magic to make it an event space.
Right. Well, great. Well, I'll keep directing them to the portal and hope that works out. This question may be premature because I know maybe we need to have further discussions with the Secret Service, but I've also gotten a lot of inquiries from citizens who aren't sure they want to protest anything yet, but know they, or maybe a few of them are. And
reserve their right.
Well, we don't know. We don't know how the nomination process is going to go, what the platforms will be, but we all know there's a lot of issues fundamental to the future of our planet and our democracy, and people want to be able to use their First Amendment rights. And I understand that security is necessary, but do we have any sense of how big this zone is going to be that you need a pass to get into? I mean, how many city blocks around the Forum are going to be you're not allowed in unless you have special permits?
So accurate to say just slightly premature. That information will be made public in January, which is coming up. So we'll have that information for you then. In terms of the protest zones, everybody that will be here next summer will have a voice.
Well, and to me, the protest zone is all 50 states and all 7 territories is a protest zone. So are we really going to tell people if you want to protest, go there? Is that what we're going to do?
There will be a designated protest zone.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think people have First Amendment rights.
But they've always done that.
I know.
Well, this is why we come in at the tail end on this stuff, and so just do it and don't. I mean, there's two approaches to this. Either we get involved, or we just say, "You guys do what you're going to do."
Well, that's part of the discussion right now. So, Alderman Stamper.
Yeah, thank you. So our event on Monday, are you doing your own outreach, or is it all on us? Or you got your own outreach team, your own way of getting people there?
Yes, so Lafayette and I do our own outreach to chambers and to affiliation groups as well.
Do you have a list of the neighborhood organizations, or do you need that? Or we can, I guess we could.
Yeah, we can discuss that. We have our own internal searching, but it'd be great to have your list as well if we can collaborate with that.
Okay, what about the business improvement districts? Did you reach out to them, or is that on us?
Yeah, no, the bids, we reach out to them as well.
Okay, great. Now I understand there's a construction
Yes.
Event. Is it the same night, or did you choose a different night?
So they're going to have one, and I know you know more logistically. Maybe you want to answer that?
Yeah.
It's the same evening, but it's afterwards. It's not going to overlap at all. So there'll be one on Monday evening, and then there'll be one on Wednesday during the day.
So ours ends at 7:30. What time was the construction one?
Yours ends at 7:30?
Yeah.
Ours starts at 6:30 to get folks to gather, and then will be the program afterwards.
Where's that one?
It's at UW Milwaukee. I don't recall the room off the top of my head, but it's on my phone. I can get it to you.
Are they sort of two different audiences?
Yes.
Okay, so the construction audience is just for people to put together.
Information session for people that will be interested possibly in doing the RFP for construction for the DNCC.
Okay. Why did we have it on the same night?
It wasn't ideal, but there were some time frames for the remainder of the RFP that is not my, I'm not the one who sent those time frames.
Okay. Is it too late?
We can have a sidebar after this and see what we can figure out. I also was not aware of the scheduling conflict, so if there is something we can do to fix it, we will, and if not, then we will figure out the most creative way to make sure that people can be in two places at once.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was not aware. Thank you.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Appreciate that.
Now, the volunteers is 15, what's that, Paris? The volunteerism, the 15,000, is that a big number? Is that average, or is that what kind of number is that?
In terms of what other conventions have needed? Or
Yeah, is that a lot, or is that average, or is that?
it's about standard, maybe a little high, but
Okay.
about standard.
Will they receive some type of training?
Yes.
When does the training start?
Volunteer.
Good question. Training will start in the spring. Every individual who signs up to volunteer and gets placed in a specific volunteer role will receive training. Everyone will receive a general high-level training of what it means to be a convention volunteer. And then on top of that, they will receive specific specialized training as it pertains to their specific roles and tasks. And that will start to happen in the spring and go through up until right before the convention. Volunteer leaders will also receive specific training to be leaders of other volunteers and volunteer groups.
Okay, great. And then the internship, how many spots are available? And how much are you paying for the internship?
Yep, so we will be paying $15 an hour.
Okay.
And as of right now, I guess in terms of how many spots are available, that number is continuing to grow based on our needs. So we are taking applications, and we'll hope to get to a point where we have sufficient funding that we can take as many into a class as we can.
How many did you have last convention?
So in Philadelphia, we had maybe at this point, maybe 5 or 6, and then it grew to maybe closer to about 20 or so.
20. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, about 20.
Okay.
Or the minimum is 20, but you can hopefully go up. Is that what you said?
Yes.
I got distracted a little bit, but
No problem.
He had the same question.
No problem.
So, all right.
But it's in flux, right? So if we are able to hit the fundraising numbers that we want to, and we talk about this 20% of our budget going solely to historic inclusion efforts, if we raise into that bucket, that completely goes to retaining and recruiting great staff, and we extend that to our interns as well. So the more money we can raise, the more people we can have, and so that is the path that we are on.
Okay. So the $50 million that was raised, that's a separate fundraising goal than what you're trying to raise?
No, it's all the same. So $70 million is the entire budget for the 2020 convention.
Okay. And then last question, the credit line of about $200 million that the city of Milwaukee had to secure, how does that collaborate with the DNC?
No, it's not quite that.
Say what?
Say that again, Alderman.
There was a credit line that was one of the requirements to have the DNC come to Milwaukee.
Yes.
How does that collaborate with the DNC, and how is that going to be used? Is that for Milwaukee? Is that for the host committee, or
Yep.
is that
So
for businesses? What is that for?
So it's privately funded to be it is the guarantor of why the convention was able to come here. So no taxpayer dollars. This is a private funding source, and that is strictly if the host committee is not hitting goals, that would be the only case under which that would need to be used.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you.
First of all, let me just say thanks for coming. I think this was an important step of opening up the lines of communication. This is the first time that all of us has met the team. Many of us have had an opportunity to meet with you. You have had an open door policy. I know it's been difficult for you to necessarily try to touch bases with everybody, not just the council, but all of the different partners that you need to touch bases with throughout the city. Mm-hmm. This is a tremendous task and a tremendous undertaking. I want you to know that we understand that. But this is a great introduction to be able to meet the team and to know who to call for specific things. And this creates an opportunity to be able to do that. I will let you know that I'll help with that process.
Thank you.
For the council, and as well as many of the planned events that they want to do in different parts of the city in order to continue the outreach. So, you know, I know that a lot of us are just a little frustrated with the fact that this is the first time that
Sure.
An event of this magnitude has come to the city of Milwaukee. So there's going to be some filling out about what that entails and what the responsibility is going to be for a number of different entities. If we can use this platform as a way of being able to communicate to the council, especially in the areas I was talking to Jody earlier, in some of the very specific areas, there's a number of alders that have just specific interests in a number of large areas that's going to have to coordinate their activity. Being able to have the committee platform as a way of being able to share that with as many members as possible. I encourage you to use it in order to be able to do that. But some of the downtown representatives, those that have districts that touch much of the activity, are probably be closer to a lot of this activity. So I'll encourage some specific outreach to those alders.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Mr. Chair.
And so you got some more?
Yeah, just had one last one.
Well, first we go Alderwoman him first. All right, Alderman Stamper.
No, you know ladies first.
That's what we were trying to do. This was the whole representation. DDC is trying to show you that, but
So sweet. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Of course.
So I kind of wanted to just echo President Hamilton's sentiments and say thank you for and I know it's a little bit difficult. It took me a little bit of time to get to you all, but once I did, you have been nothing but, expedient with getting back to us and really coordinating and having those conversations. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I'm really excited about some things that we're going to be collaborating on, some things that I haven't even mentioned just yet. But I do know that this is a huge undertaking. And so I appreciate the fact that you are willing to be open to collaborate with us and understand the need to do so and not just take some folks' point of view from whether they're on Visit Milwaukee or not, because there's a completely different experience from you being a Visit Milwaukee member or employee than someone who, one comes from the far northwest side. It's a completely different dynamic from that to the inner city. So I really appreciate the fact that you all are being open and willing to do so. So I look forward to the partnership and knowing that, Arlisa will be working with you all and we can coordinate through her as well. She does a phenomenal job on our end. So thank you for that. And then I just wanted to say, Nisha, beautiful glasses.
I was just noticing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Stamper.
Yeah, thank you. The St. Anne's event was successful, and Sister Edna called me and invited me. But I was next to one of the Marcus Center representatives, and she showed me how she was invited. So just add me to that list because it was from you. So I don't know if there's a list per venue, per event, but is there going to be another event like that? If it's so, I'd like to be added to that list.
Please add everyone on the council.
Yeah, I was going to say one of my best takeaways from today, we are all on our phones and our computers at all hours. We are young people who probably have it attached to us more than we need, and so we are available. Our personal cell phones and emails will be public, and so we'll make sure every single one of you, Council President, if that's okay, are added to our distribution list so you know what we're up to.
That'd be great.
We can take care of that today, and we will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, Kovac was there. How were you invited? Were you
Was where?
At the
at St. Anne's, the St. Anne's event?
How was I invited? The way I always have, Amanda tells me I got to be somewhere. So.
That's how most of us end up where we're supposed to be. So Arlisa will be telling us where we need to be.
Yes.
So that's where we'll be.
It was in my calendar, and I showed up. I don't know exactly what. I assume I got an email from someone.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know for sure.
Well, thank you.
It was in Stamper's district.
Yeah, they had a nice event.
Yeah.
It was the co-chair announcement.
It was.
What was that? Then they all
Sir.
presented their positions and their representation for the committee. So I don't know if you guys were traveling with that, but was that just specific to that day? Okay.
Yep. Well, we're on our way. All right.
Thank you.
So with that, we had a 3-item agenda, and it's still going to be 5 hours. So, so thank you.
Thank you.
And we will circle the wagons. Arlisa is right here on the front lines for us for communication, and I will extend everything with my responsibilities to try to make things smooth on our end.
Appreciate that.
You know, I can't control the weather, you know, nor the safety issues. So y'all got to deal with all of that stuff.
Thank you very
All
much
right?
for having us.
Okay.
Thank you all.
All right. So Alderman Bauman would move to hold this item to the call of the chair. And hearing no objection, so ordered. Moving to item 2, file number 19051.